You're listening to the Proposify Biz Chat with Kyle Rack, a podcast for entrepreneurs looking to scale. This episode is brought to you by Proposify, software that streamlines your proposal process, impresses clients, and helps you close more deals. Head to proposify.com to start your free trial today.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kyle Racky, and today on the show, we are talking about content, how to engage your buyers at every stage of the funnel. And with me today is Meghan McKenzie. She is at Crowd Content. She has 10 years of sales and marketing experience. And at Crowd Content, it's an agency that helps some of the world's biggest brands like Best Buy, 3M, WordPress, and Lowe's solve their content marketing needs. She's going to talk to us today about how to use content marketing effectively. Welcome to the show, Meghan.
Hi, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me. No, thank you for being on the show. That's the right thing. I told you, I mess up intros every week.
No, I love it. It's fun.
Well, you're joining me now in beautiful, is it Vancouver or Victoria you're in? Victoria, British Columbia, other side of the country from me where I'm in Halifax. So you've gotten up bright and early to chat with me. I appreciate that.
No problem.
And I've never been to BC, but I hear it's lovely. I really want to go there someday.
You know, it is truly beautiful, but you have the advantage of having like the nicest people in Canada. East Coast Canadians are, bar none, the most friendliest people. So my dad's side of the family is from Cape Breton. And cool. I've gone over there, walked into the pub, and literally everyone of all ages, oh, hi, how's it going? They're just, you guys are so friendly. So I envy that.
We have our fair share of assholes as well, but I appreciate that. And actually, we're going to be in San Diego, both of us, for the Traffic and Conversion Conference, which is going to be in February, end of February. I have to say, I've been there once before. I know you haven't. And that people there, I would say they're on par with East Coast for friendliest people.
Excellent. I'm so excited.
Okay, so let's dig into this. Before we start talking really, in the dirt, tactical stuff, give us just a little rundown of Crowd Content. What are you guys all about?
Sure. So we've been around for 6 years now, and our core focus is executing truly publish-ready content for agencies, brands, and retailers. So what that looks like is you can work with freelance writers. You can find them anywhere. However, what we do is we offer a 3-level process to ensure that we hit your brand guidelines, your tone, your voice every single time. So be it 2 blog posts a week or a month to 2,000 blog posts or articles a month. Every single piece of content that gets delivered to your site, to your inbox, is truly matching your in-house style guide and voice and tone.
That's awesome. And you guys are both doing work with agencies, white labeled under them, maybe on their own stuff, and you're also doing white label services for their clients. So how have you guys been able to sort of get like the Best Buys, the Lowe's, these big enterprises? I'm really curious, kind of maybe from a biz dev standpoint, how you guys get those clients, or if those are other agencies that you're kind of working through the third party with. How did you get brands like Best Buy and Lowe's? How did you guys work with those?
Great question. So all organic inbound. So we've done fantastic job at ranking organically for keywords that folks are looking for, like custom content, publish-ready content, SEO optimized content, how to find writers. Over the past 6 years, all of it has come in either from referrals or through organic search. So that's one of the first questions I ask folks when they come in through our chat or our enterprise lead form is like, how'd you find us? And they're like, just typed it in. So I joined the company less than a year ago as our first dedicated outbound sales rep. And it's been a lot of fun because folks need content. And so compared to other industries, it's, been great. But that is pretty much it. I am our sole salesperson, having a lot of success so far and a lot of fun. But prior to that, and still up until this point, we get quite a lot of highly qualified inbound leads from SEO.
Wow. It's always nice too when it comes inbound. It shows, first of all, that you guys are walking the walk, because that's the whole point of content, is that you're going to be using it as a way to draw leads into your funnel. So it's a great way for you guys to show like, hey, we can do it for ourselves. Sometimes, that's always the way with agencies. I think I can speak pretty broadly there that like agencies know what to do and they know how to do it for their clients. They often can't do it for themselves.
It's very true. So we have the luxury of having a director of production who has over 25 years of editing freelance and working for even some of our competitors. So oftentimes what we'll do is we'll get content created by one of our favorite writers, send it to her for her to really truly polish it up and understand at what level the funnel it should be targeted, and she can just sort of put her stamp of approval on it. I mean, I even send her email proposals like from like Proposify and just like follow-ups. I'm like, can you just like put your touch on this for me? And it just goes a long way. It really does, especially in this day and age when email is required a lot for follow-up. So
yeah. The thing that I'm really interested to chat about is, we just talked about how using content is a way to rank organically on search engines and drive kind of top of funnel traffic. Something that's been on my mind recently, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is how does content help? Like, okay, somebody found out about you, they landed on your blog, maybe they signed up for something or they asked for a demo or however your sales process works. How can you actually use content to nurture leads when they're already in your funnel? How do you use content to kind of move them through that buyer journey?
Sure. So I think it starts with really having a very strong and not aggressive email campaign, offering true value. So really understanding if you commit to delivering an email a week or 2 emails a week, you stick to that voice, and follow to that. You can do anything from an ebook. We recently produced an ebook on how to produce e-commerce content, product descriptions specifically that convert and scale. And that brought in a ton of qualified leads. But what to do with those leads came down to a very strong value-based email campaign, which I had our writers help me craft up in sequences of 5, followed by a white paper, a fact sheet, which really addresses the fact that we understand our buyers' industry and we understand what their pain points are, and then here are the solutions we have produced, and we get what those problems are, and we are the solution and the best choice to help you solve those solutions.
It's demonstrating authority.
Demonstrating authority, really nurturing those leads, educating them as much as you can without having that really sort of aggressive call to action, because they're just not there yet, right? They're really researching the space, your competitors all the time, and they want to know that you're a valued source. And the third point is really, winning their heart, getting that emotional connection and inspiring them to continue on this like sort of like journey with you, to say, okay, Meghan, crowd content, whomever that person has my best interest in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you win, like I love that when you win people's hearts, the sale comes pretty naturally because they already feel warm, fuzzy feelings to you and your brand, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very important, and I often even find it a quick way to know if it's not a good fit, right? So really providing that information up front so that they can do that research and putting your mindset in the place of the buyer is very important. So really understanding what are those pain points and how can we address them.
Mm-hmm. Now, before I forget, you mentioned that guide, that ebook that you guys produced. There will be a link to that in the show notes. So if you head over to proposify.com/podcast and check out this episode with Meghan McKenzie, you can get links to that. I assume you can share the link to the landing page where people can get that. So in case you're listening to that and wondering how to get it, go there. Now, what types of content should you produce for each stage of your buyer's journey? So like what would be the difference between a piece of content that is very top of funnel, very kind of awareness, brand lead gen kind of thing versus something that's more bottom of the funnel, kind of pre-close?
Sure. So top of the funnel, I would look at purely awareness. So awareness in the space and really understanding absolutely zero inclination as to what your company does. So that could be like, if you're a digital marketing company, how to vet your digital marketing agency. Here's what you do. And at no mention about your brand, except perhaps at the very bottom, written by so-and-so from this digital marketing company. A podcast or a webinar at the top of the funnel is also very fantastic for brand awareness and really just having them look at you as an authority in the space. When you get more to MOFU, like middle of the funnel, which we refer to tofu, MOFU, you
I
can
thought you were
really
saying something else there for a second.
no, MU. Never mind. So with the middle of the funnel, we like to focus on fact sheets or data sheets, white papers, maybe perhaps a demo video. That might be a little bit more closer to the bottom of the funnel, but the demo video could be a generic reference story or case study where you don't necessarily mention the client's name, but you can really talk to the industry and perhaps, this was an industry leader in the oil and gas, and here's what we did with them. Here's what their problem was. So those are the three that I would highly suggest for the middle of the funnel is white papers, data sheets, and maybe a demo video. For the bottom of the funnel, a consultation, a more in-depth case study pertaining to their particular problem. And in our case, we have the fantastic accessibility to all these writers. We'll oftentimes provide like a free sample of writing or a trial month, or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's and obviously with SaaS, software as a service, like that's sort of the classic gateway drug to using the product is give a bit of it away for free. It's interesting how you can use that for a service company as well and do a little bit of sample writing or free trial. How does that work out for you guys?
If we did this analysis a few months ago, and if I can get them to the evaluation stage of testing us out, it's like a 95% close rate, which is super cool for me because really my ultimate goal is to win their heart, educate them, and ultimately get them to that place where they'll say, all right, let's do a test, or write us a sample piece. So content is so important because it's so subjective in terms of what that quality value and that quality level is. And so as you go through the buyer journey, really when you start at the top, understanding who each of your buyer personas are. And oftentimes companies have like 3 to 6, if not more. So identifying who those are and then truly identifying what their needs are at each stage of the buyer journey is so important.
Yeah. And I think, where agencies often have trouble closing deals is that they don't, it's such a high risk for most clients to hire an agency, right? A lot of times they're going for like an agency of record kind of thing, or like maybe a annual retainer, like a monthly retainer paid annually, that kind of thing. So it's a big buying decision. So you're kind of asking for there's a lot of trust involved in winning that client's trust to kind of move ahead with you. So I would kind of challenge every agency listening to this or watching this. How can you give a little piece away of your service without giving away the whole farm that gives your client that level of trust that they can go, okay, I've sampled a little bit of your service, or you've given, what I often talk about is a foot in the door offer, like an audit, like maybe a small discovery session or something, so they can just see what it feels like working with you. And then that, like you said, for you guys, that's 95% of people who take that offer will then go on to be a paying client. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. It's very important to showcase that you're willing to do something for free, knowing that there's that value and that trust building exercise that happens. And something that for agencies specifically with us, what we found was there's this disconnect. So if an agency is using us to produce the content and the client is super content heavy, but they also really need that strategy in place, whereas we focus on execution. What we've done for our agency clients is we've created a very in-depth questionnaire. And so this questionnaire really asks those hard-hitting questions pertaining only to content that the client can fill out, jump on a call with the agency. The agency can really, extract all that information. And we really try to help train those agencies on, because ultimately any marketing agency out there, if you're not doing some sort of content for your clients, I'd be shocked. I would be shocked if you're not. And so truly understanding what their goals are with that content, be it SEO, brand voice, the buyer journey, all of it. You have to get in with them, because at any moment they can say, oh, we've switched to a different agency. So it is a dog eat dog world with agencies for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, when we talk about content buying journey, proposals involved in that, usually for most agencies, putting out some kind of document that outlines, what the client's getting, how much, maybe a little bit. How would you use content? Because I know you do this. How do you put content into your proposals that's beyond just here's the scope of work, here's the price, sign on the line that's dotted? How do you go about that?
So we have case studies for each of our buyer personas. So I'll always attach a case study. I mean, at max 1 page with some nice graphics is the best way to go, because they're simply just scanning it, but they want to know, are they credible? Are they legit? So oftentimes I will have a case study. I also like to include some samples pieces of content in each of their verticals as well. And then a thorough understanding of our production process. So just really talking about how we dive right into what we're offering. And it's almost like a fact sheet just on us, on our production, and how we will match their needs. So that's a custom piece, but it's really simple for me to just whip up for every client I'm speaking with and say, okay, shoot me over a proposal. So now the proposal will outline, of course, the details of the contract, a case study, testimonials, and then also that fact sheet, which is like, here are your problems that you've outlined for me that I have written up, and here are how we can meet them.
Now, I've heard you talk about a reference story. Tell me what that means, because I know that you're even able to provide a template basically to build a reference story. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So reference story is just a mini case study. It's something that I keep in my back pocket. I've memorized for all the different buyer personas we have. And it's truly like about a half a page. So you start off with every case study or every reference story templated out the exact same. You've got the issue that was at hand. So what's the situation? What's the critical problem? What were your solutions? How did you come in, and what were those results? So oftentimes, for example, let's say I'll give you one right now. Doris, which is a subsidiary of Michael's, they sell arts and crafts goods. They were working with a content vendor, a competitor of ours, and it was going all right. However, she found that when she received the content, she was spending almost 4 days editing the content to match their in-house style guide, their brand. I mean, the content itself was pretty good, but it sounded like it was coming from so many different writers, and that's not how you want to be seen in the eyes of your prospective customers online. You want it to be going from, okay, if I take a look at paper clips and then I go to like frames and art supply, you want it all to sound cohesive and sound the same. So she was jumping in there and editing and literally spending, she told us, 4 days. So we did a test sample with her, I believe about 3,000 SKUs. And she called us about 15 minutes afterwards and was like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. These are fantastic. Like, let's go. So since that time has happened, we've taken on all of her business. We've saved the company, 4 days in editing costs a month, and are able to sort of help the company scale. So I addressed the situation that was happening, the pain point, not only for the company, but for herself. Like, how was she able to grow her job and look like a rock star in her job if she spent all this time editing content that she's paying for? Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't working. And then solving her pain point, and then really talking about the fact that, sure, we're probably using some of the same writers. Like, freelancers are like a different beast in themselves. They're everywhere. It's like, how do you manage those writers, and how do you make sure that they're matching your brand voice and following instructions? And so that's why we've got different layers in there. And then ultimately including the results story. So how did we help them do that, and what did that look like? So you can extract that information in so many different ways. Oftentimes I find clients a bit resilient, or maybe they don't know about giving you those stats, but let's just say you're an SEO agency and you want to find out where you are in ranking in the SERP, right? So you can easily go into something like SEMrush and find out, okay, we started working with this client 6 months ago, and they were ranking at this place in the top 3 for 100,000 keywords, and now they're ranking top 3 for 400,000. So wow, they're right there. There's a tangible ROI, focused stat, which really speaks to the decision makers in these larger companies, because they look at their budget and then what their goals are.
Yeah, it's almost like, I think you'll agree with me, or maybe you won't, but when it comes to enterprise sales, there's sort of those two levels of audience that you're looking at, which is sometimes the buyer who you don't get to talk to, who makes the final decision, and they're looking at data and more quantitative stuff. But then there's, you're selling to, say, a middle manager or like a VP who answer to the CEO or something like that. What they're concerned about isn't necessarily what the CEO is concerned about, right? They want to make sure they look good. They don't make a bad decision that their boss comes down on them for. The one spending 4 days having to redo or edit work, she cares about that 4 days of time that she gets back. So I think that's a perfect example to talk about how when you're selling to enterprise, you've got to look at the concerns and the problems of each person in that sales journey, I guess. Would you kind of agree with that?
Oh, I definitely do. And if your main point of contact is that not the true decision maker, you need to be able to provide them with bite-sized information that is quantitative and easily deliverable, so they can just turn around, give it to their boss and be like, this is the right choice. This is how we've performed with them so far. This is why they're valuable to us. And this is why, and then in behind the scenes, they're like, and this is why it makes my job so easy. So you have to, I've really worked hard at providing content in the form of a presentation, free samples, case studies, that my point of context can turn around and give their bosses, and they say, this is crowd content is the right choice, like, let's go. So that's another place where content truly comes into play, because oftentimes I won't have a chance to, talk to that true decision maker in larger organizations, enterprise level stuff.
Right. So you give them like an asset that they can then share and move up the chain of command.
Yeah. And I just ask them, I'm like, hey, like, what does your boss care about? And most of the time they're like, budget, money, and it's like, all right, well, tell me what he or she's like. Like, what are they like? Like, okay, so how can I formulate this package of content that will truly, hit their decision maker based on the characteristics of that person? And they're always different, right?
That's a brilliant idea. I think very few people do this, if anyone, other than you. Is when you can't talk to the final decision maker, asking that person who you can talk to, what is that person like?
Yeah.
What do they care about? It's so simple, but how many people do it? Probably very few, I would think.
For sure. There's one other thing too I wanted to mention at different stages of the buyer cycle is what seems to work really well is go back and ask your current clients, like the ones that just love you, like, why did you go with us? Like, what? Like, because oftentimes, like, I'll just get an email. They're like, okay, we're in. And I'm just like, oh, this is amazing. Like, yes. And then I don't think to ask why. And oftentimes the reason why is something I had no idea. Like, I knew I won their heart as a whole. I knew the price point worked, and I knew that kind of stuff. But going back and asking them and then using that in your content, especially in the mid funnel, like, that's the part where they're really like trying to find out, because they want to buy from you. They're just trying to find out that you're going to validate those reasons on why they want to buy, right? And that really helps, is those testimonials. Like, not like, oh, this service is really great, they gave us some really good articles. No, like, this agency went with us because of this reason, right? And that really, makes you feel good, of course. And then it really showcases your integrity to those prospective clients.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And, a lot of SaaS companies do that as well. I know we do, as we go, so what was that aha moment when you used our software where you're like, this is for us? Listen to what people say, and then that becomes your value proposition. That was actually how we changed, our headline and our main value prop around being streamlining your sales process, because that's what we heard from people. We thought at the beginning the core value prop was deliver beautiful proposals. And they said, no, I really want to streamline my proposal process. And we heard that so often that became the value prop. That became the headline on the landing page and in ads and everything else. And I think so many agencies probably don't do that, where they really ask somebody, like you just said, what was that moment where you're like, okay, we're going with crowd content, just understanding why, because it might be something you haven't even considered.
Yeah. And it's great to ask for that kind of candid feedback. It's helpful to help a company grow, so, and absolutely adore Proposify, because I just met Kevin, your president, at Inbound last September, and on the first night, and he told me all about Proposify, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool, like this sounds awesome. And he's like, yeah, I'll set you up with a 7-day free trial, like just get going. And then I had a meeting the next day with a fantastic Fortune 500 company, and that night she said, hey, can you send us a proposal? And I was like, yes, I can. And so like I jumped into Proposify. You guys already had like a content marketing proposal like set up for me. I played around with it, made sure it really rung true and sent it out, and she signed a couple days later. And it was pretty cool experience, because I was like, I'm going to be a lifer with Proposify, and it's just because that it worked so well for me, and it was so elegantly laid out, and it really streamlined the process for me. It wasn't like some Word doc that I threw together, some bullet points.
Okay, so everything you just said is now a video case study. It's now going to be on our website. We're going to use that as content to warm up the middle of the funnel. No, that's awesome, Meghan. I'm really happy to hear that for you. If Kevin only gave you a 7-day free trial, though, he really sold you up the river, because we offer 14-day trials. So
it's probably 14 days, because I was gone for a week, and I feel like it was 14 days. It was a free trial nonetheless, and it like was fantastic. I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want, because I'm not a graphic designer, and I'm not even a writer. Like, I can write funny stuff, and like, I had a travel blog when I went traveling, like stuff like that, but I'm not like a marketing writer. That's why I utilize our writers for that exact reason. But having that proposal like ready and waiting for me, and I was just like, send. I was like, oh, this is so nice. And that's actually awesome. So funny, that same client, when I sent her the proposal, emailed me back, said, what's this platform you use? We love it. And I think they're one of your clients now too, so it's good. I know. We
need to make you a partner, get you on the partner program. That's incredible. And I really liked what you said earlier about following up with your clients and looking at, SEMrush or Google Analytics or whatever tool to actually find results, because the client may not always be forthcoming and saying like, oh, wow, since working with you, our sales shot up 300%. Sometimes you have to dig a little bit to find that information. I know that's one thing that we're going to really start doing, is actually tracking people's time in the editor of Proposify, so we can distinctively say, your time writing proposals literally went down over the last 6 months to like from 2 hours to 20 minutes or whatever that is, so we can give people some kind of tangible number to look at.
Cool. I love that. That's a great idea. And with content, it's still not necessarily a new vertical, but it's tough if you don't know how to measure your content. People often will, I'll be following up and be like, hey, can we get like a case study going? And they're like, yeah, we're still kind of trying to figure out how to actually find out what that is, because content is truly a long-term game. You're looking at 12 to 24 months down the road. And if you're used to seeing stats from your PPC agency or your Facebook ad buying team, like those stats are readily available within, a matter of months. So content, you got to be in it for the long haul, and not expect, okay, well, I'm going to put out this tip sheet in a white paper and I'm going to see these leads just like fly in, like that's not what content's about. And that's sometimes a struggle when I get on the call with someone. They're like, okay, I just want, a couple blog posts. And I'm like, okay, well, what's your calendar look like? What's your consistency look like? And like, what's the long-term goal here? And trying to really articulate that content is out there for so many different purposes. But at the end of the day, you're educating your clients to win over their heart, so.
Winning hearts, winning minds. And, I liken it to working out. People who go, I want content to drive leads and sales my way. It's like, you don't go to the gym for a month and then go, where's my abs? I don't have any abs. right?
I know. Yeah, that's a great analogy. I'm going to use that one.
Meghan, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Crowd Content is your company. For people who want to check out what you guys do, go to crowdcontent.com. Can people follow you online if they want to connect with you personally?
Yeah, sure. LinkedIn's my place of choice. We have a Twitter account as well, but definitely LinkedIn is the best way. I'll shoot you the link.
All right. Links will be in the show notes, proposify.com/podcast. Thank you so much, Meghan, for joining me today.
Thanks, Kyle. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Thanks for listening to the Proposify Biz Chat with Kyle Racky. For more episodes, check us out on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Click subscribe to get updated on the latest episodes, and be sure to rate and review.